Well, this was one of India's worst days at the Paris Olympics. And it's not every day that you get to say something as sweeping as that when India has actually won a medal thanks to Swapnil Kusale in the 50-meter rifle three-position event, and a discipline where India had never previously won a Olympics medal. We had certainly come close with Joydeep Karmakar finishing fourth, but yeah, so this time around we finally won a medal, but it's not been a great day for India at the Olympics. Welcome to Pod of the Rings. This is me, Amit Kamath, sitting in Mumbai. We are going to join Vinayakk Mohanarangan in a while. He's joining us from Delhi. And we have, as always, Mihir Vasavda joining us from Paris. He's somewhere in transit, so we'll have very limited time with him, which is why we are going to talk to him first. Mihir, before we get to all the defeats, talk to us about India's third medal at Paris, coming from shooting and more importantly, coming from Swapnil Kusale.
And I'll be honest, it's a very surprising one for me because of all the people I expected to win a medal, not just in shooting, but overall, Swapnil Kusale, I'll raise my hand and say he wasn't the one I expected. For the reason that he's always been this guy who's come very close to a medal or come close to doing something special and not being able to do it, right? The last minute, the final push that's required, it never came from him. I mean, even during the selection trials for the Paris team, he had three really good, decently good matches. And in the final one where the team was to be decided, he kind of bombed almost. But since the average scores were good, he made it to the team. So he's always been that kind of a shooter. I was thoroughly surprised the way he played today. He qualified for the final 7th position, as we remember. His first shot was worst of all the 8 shooters. And after that, the way he came back, he was 6th in the first series ended, climbed to 5th, I think, by the time second one concluded. And in the final few shots, he went from being 2nd to 4th and then finally settling for 3rd. So very wild ride for him. And also, I think, a great medal for India. And what a story shooting has been at these Olympics. I mean, Tokyo की बात कर रहे थे कि कार shooting के 3 medal आ जाते and India would have touched 2 digits. And unfortunately, I think this time we are staring at a scenario where shooting has got its 3 medals. It might be more since Manu and Isha Singh will be competing again on Friday, and if they qualify then for the final, then on Saturday again. But if shooting's got its medals, but clearly others aren't firing.
Right. Mir, apart from Swapnil, there clearly wasn't a whole lot to cheer for today. Even if I tried to list it, मैं शायद नहीं कर पाऊंगा. In fact, today was the day that a lot of people that we had, mentioned previously as medal hopefuls at Paris basically got handed a reality check here.
A long list, yeah. कहाँ से मतलब so I was at Nikhat's bout as well, and although it was a tough one, I really thought she had it in her to pull it off. She was playing this Chinese world number 1 Wu Yu. First time the two boxers were meeting. Nikhat is one of India's biggest medal contenders, or rather was one of India's biggest medal contenders for these games, and she just never looked to be in the fight. And that was disappointing for me. And later on, she did admit she was in tears, which is very sad to see. And she was introduced to tears. I think her ego was bruised to admit that she lost to a better boxer. I mean, there were a bunch of emotions. She felt slightly injustice to herself because her draw was very, very tough. There was a sense of, longing कि उसने उसके family के साथ last 2 साल में 2.5 साल में time नहीं बिताया. Hardly कुछ she spent time with them. But overall, there was a sense of sadness, what she felt. And that's what most of us would feel, because Nikhat has been this consistent performer for India during this Olympic cycle. Very few world champions that India has in the last 3-4 years. And for her to exit so early is a setback. And that kind of had a chain reaction. Just when Nikhat was finishing her bout, I think the hockey team around the same time, after taking lead against Belgium, they lost their match. But the real second blow, the twin blow, came when Satwik-Chirag lost the doubles match. And I think for someone to be a gold medal contender, to lose in the quarterfinals against an opposition against whom they've had a decent record, that is a big, big shock for me. I don't think many people would have seen that come in, or would have hoped at least that, despite the tricky draw, they would have made it to the next one.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Satwik and Chirag because there was also a two-time Olympic medalist Sindhu who basically was defeated in a straight game clash by He Bingjiao. Between Satwik-Chirag and Sindhu, those two defeats have basically ensured that Lakshya Sen is the only one left. But before we go to that, just talk about this Sindhu defeat, Mihir. I believe you were at the venue.
Yeah, I mean, that was like to just cap off a very, very bad day for India. And I don't know what, Vinayak, you think about Sindhu and on what basis we had this, expectation that she'd be reaching the medal rounds or at least the quarterfinal of the Paris Olympics, because nothing really suggested that. I mean, she's been a brilliant player. The last two Olympic cycles, Rio to Tokyo, she had been hands down one of India's finest athletes. But let's admit it, I think she wasn't close to her best in the Paris cycle, especially since 2023. She's been struggling, and all her struggles that we've been talking about were amplified today in the court because first game it was all neck and neck. Her decision making when it came to leaving shuttles was iffy as always. And in the second game, I just thought she ran out of steam. I mean, she made a couple of mistakes, a lead opened up, and she seemed to have given up. Her fitness didn't look quite great, and she did not look close to what she was at Rio or in Tokyo. And that is kind of sad. We asked Sindhu after her match, if she'll be continuing. She has the motivation to continue for another 4 years till Los Angeles. And she remained non-committal. She just said that LA is 4 years away and that's a long time. I'll take a break. I'll come back and then see what's to be done. And I guess that kind of leaves a lot of room for speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, we have seen the last of Sindhu at an Olympics.
All right. All right. Well, we are going to have to say goodbye to Mihir because I believe he is, I don't know where he is, somewhere in Paris, going between one venue to another or one venue to his hotel room to probably try and get some semblance of a meal before he has to go to sleep and start this crazy routine all over again tomorrow. But this is the ideal time to kind of bring in Vinayakk, who's been very patiently waiting for Mihir's inputs from Paris. Vinayakk, I don't know which of your two passions you'd like to talk about first, hockey or the badminton heartbreaks that we've seen.
Why don't we talk about India-Sri Lanka ODI series, Amit, instead?
यार वो भी तो आज कुछ हुआ नहीं, कल है मैच.
Look forward to something else other than the Olympics.
I don't know, yaar. Matlab, yeah, that would be a good, I guess, a digression if you started to talk about India versus Sri Lanka. Because it genuinely has been that sort of a day. I mean, I don't know whether our listeners would like us to paint an even morose picture than the grim picture that Mihir just painted. But Vinayakk, what was your takeaways from this day of gloom?
I was just thinking about, I think for about 80% of the day, I was thinking about the Jimmy Neesham tweet from 2019. You remember that one that he tweeted after New Zealand lost, don't take up sport, kids. That has been on my mind predominantly for most of the day. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of, when you cover badminton and hockey as kind of your main beats, today wasn't very easy. I mean, it's not like we are sitting here and, rooting and cheering like fans for India to win medals. I mean, we are here to do our jobs, but still you kind of get invested in this. And it's kind of, difficult when someone like Satwik-Chirag, who actually started the match so well and then having to come back from another Olympics without a medal, then to see HS Pranoy struggle like that, then finally Sindhu to miss out from 1919 in the opening game when she looked so good and then suddenly just 2 points go away and then she was a shadow of herself in the second game. So yeah, tough day. Since Mihir covered most of badminton, I guess I'll go to hockey, which is actually weirdly enough in all the things that happened today, in all the defeats and the medal hopefuls and all that drama that unfolded, I think I kind of feel the most alright about India losing to Belgium in the hockey match. It was a good match. Belgium were coming into this with a 6-2 win against Australia. Thrashed Australia. I mean, I know Australia have been having their issues and all that, but to an Indian fan, to an Indian hockey follower, Australia is still like Australia, right? So for them to defeat Australia 6-2, and then I was kind of fearful for what could happen today. Probably like a momentum sapping defeat or something like that was on the cards, is what I was thinking in the back of the mind. But India actually took the lead, played well for most of the game, and conceded a very scrappy goal to lose the match in the end. And in the last minute, once again, Harmanpreet came so close, and there was a save at the post from a penalty corner situation. So that could have been 2-2, and 2-2 would have been a wonderful result. And I still think, like I said, despite the defeat in everything that happened today, that somehow feels all right, given India have already qualified for the quarterfinals.
And I didn't want to interrupt you, but when you said, Australia are always Australia, I think every hockey fan will still have those memories of Tokyo Olympics, where Australia basically came and handed us like a 1-7 defeat right at the top. So, Abhi, next game is against Australia. Hopefully, as you said, Australia are not their usual self, but there's still hope. Yeah, besides that, I think this has been like maybe a trend of sorts with Indian athletes who've suffered defeats. Like Shrija Akula also was taking on a world number one. She also had a lead that she kind of threw away in 2 successive games against the world number one. Similarly, we are seeing, Satwik and Chirag both win the first game. And when they won the first game, they looked unbeatable. I think the commentators on the air at that point had already started to talk about how it would have been great if the final was being held today, because these guys look impenetrable. And then suddenly in the second game, we saw a completely different turnaround, and they kind of never could recover from that. So a very, very heartbreaking defeat. But the great part about Satwik-Chirag is that they still have plenty of age on their side. So I know Sindhu has already spoken about LA 2028 being too far away for her to consider anything. But for Satwik-Chirag, there's still plenty of road ahead in front of them. Vinayakk.
Yeah, I guess that's how I hope they cope about this. Satwik-Chirag's brother actually messaged after the match saying, that God has a plan, which right. I think was a nice sentiment. So, these things happen for a reason. We just have to look at Manu Bakar, right? There's an example right in front of us. Yeah, so let's see how that goes. Yeah, all in all, like you said, quite a, sobering day is probably the right word. Not like, we lost immediate medals.
Vinayakk, I know Manu is still young. She's 22. Her third event starting tomorrow. And then if she qualifies for the final will be a day later and all that. But these are the kind of occasions that separate somebody who's iconic and somebody who's just a 2-time medalist or something. Because if I was Manu Bhaker today, would you not want to text people who've lost, like medal hopefuls who've lost, and tell them that, I was exactly where you were at Tokyo, and look what happened today? Like this whole sentiment that you brought up, God has a plan. Yeah. If you were Manu Bhaker, would you not be tempted to text somebody like a Satwik-Chirag or somebody like Sift Samra? I hope she's doing that because, I don't know. You look at somebody like a Abhinav Bindra, it seems like that is the kind of thing that he does. You look at somebody like a Neeraj Chopra, it seems like that's the kind of thing he does to athletes. So yeah, maybe. Obviously, that's a complete random...
Hypothetical.
Complete random digression that...
You threw me a curveball there. I don't really know how to respond when you ask me, imagine you're a 22-year-old. It feels... For a near 40-year-old, that feels like a very difficult task to do. Text people? What is that, text people? I don't know to text people. But slightly, extending from what you said, I think what probably Manu could do instead is maybe win a third medal and slightly bring a collective healing together for the Indian sporting community, right? So that's probably a nice sentiment.
Absolutely. Well, we assure you that we are done putting too much pressure on the young shoulders of Manu Bhaker. And before we sign off, we'll talk about what to expect tomorrow. Vinayakk, if the Indian fan wants to rebound from all the doom and gloom that they've experienced today, what should they look forward to for tomorrow's schedule?
Why don't you take this one, Amit? What about archery?
Oh, man.
As if we've not had enough.
I don't know. It could still be a great day.
Oh, yeah. When the whole thing started, we thought mixed team event was probably the best medal bet. So, Dheeraj and Ankita. Yeah. So, that is one thing I'd definitely say worth looking forward to. And like you mentioned already, India, Australia tomorrow, it's the forever nemesis of the Indian hockey team. So maybe they would bring something to cheer about. So just to kind of slightly elaborate on that. So the hockey, the way the pools are right now, all 8 quarterfinalists are decided, but the quarterfinals have not been decided. We know who the top 4 in the first pool are. We know the top 4 in India's pool. So that's what is at stake tomorrow. Basically, India, if they beat Australia, they go into second place. Or if they don't beat Australia, then either likely third or maybe fourth based on goal differences and things like that. And that could mean either Germany or Netherlands in the quarterfinal. So that's kind of what is about to play out. So that's where the stakes are in the pool stages. Not about qualifying, but there is, quarterfinal fate is very, very important. And already, like you mentioned, Manu is coming back for the precision and rapid 25-meter qualification. So that's there. And she'll be joined by Ichha, another young shooter who did really well at the Asian Games. So let's see how those two go. Anything else that you were looking forward to?
I think from whatever I've seen yesterday, not even today, I think I'm really looking forward to watching Lakshya play.
Yeah.
Especially because he's playing Choti Chand, but not just that, because today we saw a completely different aspect of Lakshya. He was very happy to extend rallies. He was not looking for the kill shots because he realized that the player across on the other side was not really feeling it. Like he was really, I think still shrugging off the effects of, chikungunya that he had a few months back. So that, and I think for anybody who's fascinated by water sports, our sailors will be in action tomorrow. Watch out for the live wire duo of Netra Kumanan and Vishnu Sarvanan, both of whom will be in action. We'll also have some rowing classification races tomorrow. Besides that, I think judo, a little bit of judo as well. But yeah, that's what we have tomorrow. Vinayakk, any parting thoughts?
Let August 2 be kinder than August 1.
Do you want to elaborate on that just so that we can induce some heartburn into our producer Shashank, who keeps telling us to cut this shorter? And I think we should leave him a nice little surprise. Well, on that note, let's hope the August 2 is much kinder than August 1 was for Indian sport and Indian athletes. Well, on that sentiment, I'm going to end this episode. But we'll be back tomorrow talking about Olympics, talking about sport, talking about Indian athletes. Till then, goodbye. Thank you for listening. This is me, Amit Kamath, on behalf of my co-hosts Vinayakk, Mohanarangan and Mihir Vasavda in Paris, saying goodbye all throughout the day. Anyway, if you want to check out what's happening at the Paris Olympics, you can get all sorts of live coverage via various live blogs. We'll have plenty of analysis coming through some of the best Olympic sports writers in the business on our website. So do check that out. That's all the time we have. Goodbye. See you.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.